A small studio in Emeryville, California has been working on a single movie for 4 years. They have 117 employees. They have never released a feature film. Their technology has never been tested at this scale. And the movie they're about to release is being whispered about across Hollywood as one of the biggest gambles in entertainment history. Their competitors think it's a disaster waiting to happen. So, on November 22nd, 1995, Toy Story opens in North America. 3 days later, it has broken industry records. $29 million in its opening weekend. For the entire year, only one film, Batman Forever, earns more during its launch. But over half the tickets sold for Toy Story are children's tickets, half price, which means when you actually count bodies and seats, no other film had more people show up in all of 1995. Pixar was not supposed to be able to do this. Nobody placed a bet on them. Disney, the studio funding the movie, nearly pulled the plug before it ever made it to a single screen. And yet, defying the odds and wowing audiences across the globe is something Pixar has been doing for 30 years. As their competitors rise and fall around them, Pixar just keeps making movies people love, the clear, undisputed winner of an entire industry. So how do they do it? What is the secret sauce that Pixar figured out that nobody else can copy? To answer that, you have to understand this man, Ed Catmull. Ed is born in 1945 in West Virginia. For as long as he can remember, he has wanted to be an animator. He grows up obsessed with Walt Disney. He studies, he practices, he works. But there is one problem. He can't draw. Not well enough to impress the team at Disney anyway. His characters are stiff, his lines are wrong, and in the world of animation, that is a disqualifying flaw. So he pivots. He goes into computer science, and somewhere in a research lab, he begins to believe something nobody else does, that one day computers will be able to create animation. Nobody takes him seriously, but Ed is patient. He takes a job working for George Lucas. Yes, that George Lucas. He spends years developing his technology, waiting for the moment the world catches up. And in 1986, another iconic man finally does. His name is Steve Jobs. Steve buys the computer graphics division of Lucasfilm for $5 million, and along with the sale comes Ed. Over dinner one night, Ed, Steve, and 2 other co-founders try to come up with a name for their new company. They land on Pixar, a combination of Pixar, an imaginary word that to them meant to photograph something, and radar, a word they all agreed sounded cool. Ed is named Pixar's first president. He has spent 2 decades waiting for this chance, and now, for the first time, the real problem begins, because making movies isn't a technology problem, it's a people problem. Ed tells this whole story in his memoir, Creativity Inc., and I highly recommend reading it. Inside the book, one of the more shocking details he reveals is that every Pixar film at some point during its production is a complete disaster. He means that literally. Finding Nemo had a version so dark it was nearly unrecognizable. Ratatouille went through a complete director change. Toy Story 2 was so broken at one point that Pixar essentially threw out an entire year of work and rebuilt the film from scratch in 9 months. In situations like these, most companies panic. They protect what they have, convince themselves it's fine, and ship it anyway. Pixar does the opposite. During his time as president, Ed created something called the Braintrust. It's essentially just a meeting. It happens every few months throughout the life of a film. A group of directors, writers, and creative leads, people who are themselves in the middle of making their own films, sit down and watch whatever version of the movie exists at that moment. Then they say with complete honesty why it's a disaster. According to Ed, if you put smart, passionate people in a room together, charge them with identifying and solving problems, and encourage them to be candid, you will get incredible results. But there is one rule that makes this whole thing work. The Braintrust has no authority. The people in that room can say anything they want. They can tear the film apart. They can challenge every decision. But at the end of the meeting, the director walks out the door with the same job they walked in with. They don't have to implement a single note. The Braintrust cannot mandate anything. This is the entire point. When the threat of mandatory compliance is removed, something changes in the room. People stop playing it safe. They stop softening their feedback to protect the relationship. The feedback becomes real, which, according to Ed, is the only thing that can save a bad film. In 1994, DreamWorks Animation was founded, 1 year before Toy Story. It was backed by 3 of the most powerful executives in Hollywood, including Steven Spielberg himself. Their first computer animated film, Ants, released the same year as Pixar's A Bug's Life, and for a while, they looked like real competitors. But something very different was happening inside each company. DreamWorks was building a star system. Attract famous voice actors, hire the biggest names, trust the packaging. Pixar was building a culture system. Protect the story, believe in the brain trust, make the feedback real. Looking back, it's pretty clear which system worked better. And here's the thing nobody points out. The very thing that made Ed's brain trust work was an equal playing field for everyone in the room. The junior director's notes had to count as much as the veterans. But if Spielberg is sitting across from Sylvester Stallone, Woody Allen, and Jennifer Lopez, what chance does the junior creative with the better idea ever have? Star power doesn't just cost more, it silences the room. No DreamWorks film has ever crossed $1 billion at the box office. Pixar has crossed it multiple times. DreamWorks has been sold, restructured, and reorganized more than once. Pixar is still operating from the same campus in Emeryville where it started. Both companies had brilliant people. Both had access to the same technology, the same talent pool, the same theatrical distribution, but the difference was the invisible architecture. The systems that tell people how to behave when no one is watching. The meetings that determine whether the truth actually gets said. Ed writes that what Pixar is really fighting every single day isn't bad ideas. It's the unseen forces, the fear of embarrassment, the weight of hierarchy, the instinct to protect what already exists that prevent good people from doing their best work. Building a creative organization is not about hiring geniuses. It's about designing the conditions where ordinary people can produce extraordinary things, and then protecting those conditions relentlessly. 30 years after that first weekend in November of 1995, Ed is no longer running Pixar. The technology has changed, the audience has changed, the competitors have all come and gone, but the brain trust is still meeting. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want more videos about successful companies' strategies.